Hello everyone, Papercut here with some theory crafting around Knights Templar. I don't know, theory crafting, my opinion, I guess hear my opinion about Knights Templar. So for a while I've been trying to figure out, when you do the age up, your options seem pretty straightforward. You have the French option, which gives you the plastic knight, and they're cheap. So that feels really good. I think a lot of people pick that because it's the most direct, easy option to do. I make knights, I attack, I pressure, I get my sacred sites. Great. The other two feudal options for Knights Templar I've seen used less, and I have been scouring Twitch streams and replays to see other players, how are they using the other Knights Templar units, to try to figure out for myself. Because the other one is Knights Hospitaller, the heavy men at arms. I have tried those, and I think they're great against civs who are... I think they're a good defensive unit if you're trying to be a little more eco-focused, or they're great against civs who just don't have a good men-at-arms counter. Every civ has a cav counter in spears. But if you think about civs that don't have good men-at-arm counters in feudal, then the Knights Hospitaller are great because they can heal, and they can be that tank, they can do a lot of frontline damage. The other one, though, that I've seen not as much is the Serjeants. So that's the anti-knock upgrade, where you also get extra attack on your infantry as well. And so that one's also a little bit interesting because it's like, are Serjeants good? I've seen a lot of debate on this. Serjeants are interesting because they are a ranged unit that is considered a heavy melee unit. So they do 10 damage, well 9.9 damage. And it's a melee damage. They're doing throwing axes. On top of that, they have 4 melee armor, but no ranged armor. In the most recent hotfix, they were given 10 extra health, so now they have 105 health. Reason people think they're not good: 1, they die to archers, which are always very common in feudal, and 2, they're kind of slow and they're expensive. We're gonna see here in a second, but off the top of my head, I think it's 70 food and 30 gold, which is fairly expensive for an early feudal unit. And the question is, how will this scale? So information-wise, Serjeants do scale really well. Their veterancy and imperial upgrades actually give them a lot of stats, but their feudal version, when you might see them the most, are they too weak? So I got a couple of people to shout out first. First, I'm doing the Crackety 2TC build, so shout out to Crackety. This is a great build. I think it's one of the best builds for Knights Templar right now. I think the 2TC Knights Templar is very strong. 2, I want to shout out to Anatand, who I saw testing the Serjeants. Oh, I could have killed that scout there. Who I saw testing Serjeants and really gave me the idea of what they could be really useful for. So I think theory crafting wise, Serjeants and horsemen are a very strong combo. Horsemen close on the on any archers that the opponent might make, and the Serjeants can snipe spearmen really easily, and they stay out of ranged much better. I say, why not just make archers for that? Because Serjeants can then snipe spearmen really well and then go straight into sniping range, because range units have no melee armor, right? So they're not doing the extra damage your horsemen are, but they're still doing a high amount of damage. But when I really started reading about some people's thoughts on it, I've seen other people suggest they're actually an ultimate defensive unit, and I think they are as well. I think Serjeants are a great option if you're going to go 2TC and you think your opponent is going to push you. I want to show you why here. So this was I was actually thinking about testing this. I saw them playing against English. I saw them go Council Hall, and I went, this is perfect. I'm going to do Serjeants. 1, I should have put my TC on top of my gold here. Dumb by me, but at the same time, I think it actually worked out better for me because I'm going to force the English player to split his forces here in a second. So I see he's pushing. I immediately drop a TC. I am low on gold though. I try to rush a tower, but then I realize I'm being dumb. He'll just have the longbow stand here, so it's going to be useless. So I immediately rush to my gold on the other side. I'm trying to take advantage of the fact that English longbows are slow. So if they're attacking from one direction, that means that they're in this direction. That means they're not over here. So I can tower and gold on this side. So I'm going to rush over there and do that. At the same time, I'm just getting on the wood here. The Knights Templar wood mechanic is so good. You don't have any wood villagers who are inefficient. You're getting food at the same time. All really nice, so my sheep are lasting longer. I built 2 barracks, and I'm going to start building Serjeants. So they're actually 70 food, 50 gold, my bad. So they're 120 resources, which is fairly expensive. And that means that basically all my gold right now is going to Serjeants, and none of them is going to upgrades really at this moment. I know he just saw me, so I know he's going to start sending units over here, which is actually my first opportunity. A key thing I tell people when they play as all-in civs that are playing a slow comp infantry, for example, like English, is that splitting your forces is often death. If you split your forces, what you're allowing is my much smaller force to take 2 different fights where I'm at an advantage in both of them and then win, which is going to happen to my opponent here. He's going to split his forces in half. and fight that way. I honestly think if he had just all massed in on one side and pushed, he would have had a much better chance than what he's about to do. But I want to show you first the sergeants' first amazing reason why they're really, really good at defense. They can snipe vills, and you're like, well, archers can snipe vills too. Correct. But sergeants have 10 damage, archers have 6, and archers do not have extra damage against vills. Neither do sergeants, but the point I'm trying to make is you need less sergeants to snipe a vill. In this case, you really only need 5, though technically you need 6, because once again, it says 9 plus 1 to 10, but that is the special upgrade that you get for your melee infantry for extra damage, so it's actually 9.9, so you technically need 6 sergeants to snipe a vill. But what that means is if your opponent's not paying attention, you can snipe this vill pretty dang easily. So I see he's down here, tower is going to protect my side down here. He could do this whole thing where he circles around and shoots from this side, but he knows that would open him up to a lot of attacks. So while he's attacking south, I'm going to run out with my sergeants here and watch this. I wanted one more, but I thought I can't let this tower get up. So pop, there goes. And then one more hit, boom, dead. And now here's the second reason why sergeants are so good. If they try towering you and trying to shut down your base with fortifications, fortifications have extra health against ranged and against melee. So that means your sergeants are doing 9.9 true damage against outposts. Watch. Boom. So you have a grace that since this outpost is not done, it's taking extra damage. But even if it was completed, sergeants are doing legitimate damage against towers. He notices, he pushes me back. I'm like, whatever. What this means is next time I'm going to get another sergeant out. So the next time a vill shows up, I can snipe that vill in one shot. Down here, he's massing, trying to find a place to push him down here. I just keep putting my vills in tower, and he keeps losing a longbow for his trouble. I now start adding horsemen. This is especially important just because I'm low on gold, and so I need to be using my food and wood on something. So in that case, I'm using it on horsemen. So now the goal becomes I snipe spears with horsemen. I mean, with sergeants, and horsemen do the rest. And he hasn't been making very many spears because he hasn't seen horsemen. He's only seen sergeants. Since I know he's trying to like kind of mess with me down here, I'm going to run the sergeants out and do another snipe on the tower. Rump, rump, thump, and it's done's up. That was 7 sergeants just absolutely decimating a half-built tower. And if it was fully built, I could still do good rounds of damage if he's not paying attention and whittle that down. This also builds into a push. If you're massing sergeants and they push with a ram, your sergeants can snipe that ram safely near a TC. So if they're pushing and you're kind of doing this defensive fight near a TC, you can garrison your villas in the TC. As the ram's coming, your sergeants are more safely stabbing that ram. And if he runs in to shoot your sergeants with archers, bada bing, bada boom, your TCs are raining down fire on those archers. If he has horsemen, sergeants do okay against horsemen, like we can use as an example. Horsemen have no melee armor, so sergeants are doing 9.9 true damage against horsemen, which is solid. Is it amazing? No. A spearman is doing more damage. A spearman is doing 28 against cav, which is, of course, much, much, much better. But if you're getting a mass of sergeants, great. And if they start massing horsemen in response, just add spears into the sergeant mass, and all of a sudden, it's good to go. But the thing is that horsemen aren't doing good against sergeants because sergeants have 4 melee armor and horsemen have 10 or 9 damage. My horsemen have a little bit extra damage. Have 9 damage, which is only doing 5 damage against sergeants. So once again, the trade-off is pretty good. Now, if they're massing pure horsemen, just add a few spears and you're good to go. But once again, top tier defensive unit here. Whenever he tries to, I can, like, if he's not paying attention, I can run out and snipe a unit. But at this point, I noticed that my mass is getting pretty big here. So it's time just to fight his different sections. Now, these sections were together. I can't take this fight, right? But they're not. So I'm going to run out here. Bada bing, bada boom. Snipe the spearman. The spearman is only 90 health. So that means that if I get 10 sergeants, I'm one sniping a spearman. If I get the melee attack upgrade, I do that with 10 sergeants or 9 sergeants. Maybe it'd be 7 sergeants. I would need to test that. I'm not gonna do the math off my head right now. That means sergeants are also doing a solid, you know, archers are only 70 health. So once again, sergeants are doing a good amount of damage against ranged. Range technically counter them, but not truly. Because here's the thing. An archer does 6 damage, or a longbow does 6 damage, an archer 5. But remember, they do extra damage against spearmen. Sergeants are not spearmen. They're heavy melee infantry. Thus, they're only taking 6 true damage from the longbows. Now, mass lombos will do well, right? But it's not like against spearmen where they're doing extra damage. So these sergeants have such an interesting counter system. And in feudal, there's really no pure counter. Most civs do not have a pure counter against sergeants. The only real true pure counter in feudal, I think, would be knights, because nothing actually hard counters heavy. Musafatis. If you had Musafatis would technically counter them. But even then, the Musafatis have to get to them. And the sergeants get some free hits. So I think the sergeant is especially massed. As you mass more and more sergeants, they're doing more and more work. Here's his men-at-arms. His men-at-arms has to get to the sergeant. The men-at-arms is doing 10 damage with 3 armor, but sergeants have 4 armor. So once again, you see how this interaction is once again working out pretty well for me. So I've cleared away the first mass. He's remassing down here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to walk back up to the north side and clear up the small mass up here. Once again, I get to take the fights where I want to. I see he's trying to build another tower. Vill's gonna get one tapped. Oh no, Vil runs away, but look. I snipe the spearman. Now my horsemen can just go in and do work. And now my sergeants can just work down this tower. And look at how much damage this tower's taking. Boom. 10 true damage, well, 9.9 true damage every time, man. That's crazy. Go look how fast that burns. Crazy. So he's back over here trying to harass me. He does take away some Vils, but I'm 2 TC. I can sacrifice some Vils during this. I'm just going to run back down. At this point, his mass is too small for my strong horseman sergeant army. And just eats him up. At this point, my sergeant mass is literally too big, and he can't stop it. So, once again, I think if you're 1 TC feudal all-inning with sergeants, it might not be the best option for you. I have watched the King Mabak do it. He all-in House of Lancaster with sergeants, and it worked. But it's just interesting. You really need to understand what they cost and how they work to best maximize them. But I think they're good. So I'm just gonna do the classic where I said I checked the darkness. I noticed there's no deer over here, so I'm gonna send my horsemen over here where my sergeants just keep being chads and doing God's work. I popped up over here. I started killing Vils on his deer, and he knew it was over, so he GG'd. So I think that's the use case for sergeants. I think I haven't played a lot of games in the new season. I'm still working my way back up. Though I'm being placed against conquerors basically right now. I think the use case for sergeants is a great defensive unit for 2 TC. Or if you're playing against a civ that doesn't have knights, I think it's a great switch up option too that they're not expecting. And I think the combo, especially of sergeants and horsemen, is very, very good. Especially as Knights Templar, if you're getting a lot of gold from pilgrims and stuff like that, you can use your wood on horsemen and just really focus in on food and gold and pump sergeants. I think that's really, really good, though it is a food heavy comp. Hope you found that interesting. Let me know your thoughts on Knights Templar. Are you playing them? Are you enjoying them? What's your favorite comps? What's your favorite age ups and things like that? And good luck on your games.